get through some more of these questions. So you ready for tomorrow?
Yeah, cool. 100%.
Okay, so I've got the October, November 2015. We were busy discussing 1.4. 1.4 in terms of the translated English question for it was decide whether the new machine should be purchased depending on NPV and IRR. So obviously you're looking at decision making relating to the information in the question. It's 5 marks. And we're obviously looking at what we calculated here, which was the terminal value, OCF, and initial investment for the bottling company.
I'm going to grab that exam.
Do you have the right exam?
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to find it.
Okay.
Where are you? Is it May, June 2015? Or is
October, November.
No. Is it October, November?
Yeah, it's the one with Afrikaans.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, because I just want to have the other information in front of me. Okay, this must be a little easier. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I just want to have the information about the number of years and stuff. Okay, cool. So we need to do obviously cash flows here.
Yes.
Okay, and we'll do obviously the NPV and IRR.
Good.
Okay, so we'll have cash flow. So it's only 2 years, eh?
Yeah, it's only 2 years.
Okay, and then CF2. And obviously we'd bring the terminal cash flow back into this 23,000 back into the whole equation.
Yeah, you have to.
Okay, so then we'd have cash flow 0 would be minus 142,200.
Yes.
The next cash flow would be 63,500. And then the cash flow after that would be 56,700 plus the 23,188.60.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And then IRR, you do exactly the same way. You just use IRR instead of NPV.
Yes, you would solve for the IRR instead of inserting a rate.
Okay, and so you solve. Okay, so you don't enter the rate. So
no, you don't.
The rate is 10%, eh?
Yeah, in this question.
Yeah, for NPV, 10%. Okay, let me just do the workings out, and then I'll give you the answers. Good, so 142,200 minus, that's cash flow 0, 63,500 plus 23,188.6. That's cash flow there. 10 is I, net present value. I come to a negative 18,449.09.
18,000. No, I got 21,000. So just try again. Insert that as the cash flow 0, and then that, and then those two added together. Yeah, it's the 56 plus that, eh?
Okay. Did you not have something different for the cash flow? Remember, your cash flows, weren't they slightly different because of the...
Just see here. I'm adding these two. No, this should be right.
Your cash flows were slightly different.
Let's see. What was the initial investment? Initial investment, 142,200.
Yeah.
The cash flows here for the new and the old. So the old we said was 0. And then the terminal was the 23. Yeah, they're right. The amounts are correct, yeah.
3,500. Cash flow 1. 56,700 plus 23,188.6 equals, and that's cash flow 2. 10 is I. No, I'm still getting 18,449.
Ooh, let's go back and check then.
Do you want to just check on your calculator?
Yeah, I've done it already. This was the 63500, yeah, and then that was this 7988.6. Yes. Escape, solve for using 10%, solve for NPV. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know why I got that figure. You're right. Sorry.
I think it might have been because remember you had the 100 rand in the thing. I don't know if we I think it was because 100 rand and stuff. Those changes that we made there, because we never went to, we never actually checked that and made the changes. I think.
Sure, possibly. Yeah. So that'll becomes 18, and then the okay, the IRR is still that. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm still gonna check 63. Yeah. 26,700.
Yeah. So the NPV changes.
188.6 equals cash flow, and then I just solve for IRR, no interest.
Yeah, no interest, just solve for IRR.
That's 0.53%. Is that correct? Fine. Okay, 0.5.
Okay, great. Yeah, so it's just the NPV that we need to update. That's the right answer. Yeah, so negative 18,000. Good.
Yeah. Okay, so you wouldn't accept the project?
No, you wouldn't, because the IRR is less than cost of capital,
well,
10%.
Less, and it's also Well, I mean, it's So your IR, well, on both accounts, so your NPV is negative.
Yes,
so you won't accept it because of that, and the IRR is also less than the cost of capital.
Correct.
So you would reject. Okay, cool. Okay, so we've done that.
Yeah, okay, then question 2, you're going to need the translated version of the question, because for some reason the English past paper here had the Afrikaans included. Okay, it's out of 15 marks. Obviously, looking at this, you can see you've got different projects, so A and B, and then they talk about EPS here in terms of the maximizing. So this is it. Okay, the English version, question 2. The company is currently considering 2 capital structures. In the table below, tax is 29%. Okay, 2.1 was calculate the EBIT value of that. Okay, 110,000, 220,000, 2 EBIT EPS coordinates with regards to each of the structures, and find the correlated or equal EPS values. Okay, so obviously you were calculating the EBIT
and the
EPS.
Structures?
Sorry?
What are the 2 structures?
What are the 2 structures? It's in the question.
It doesn't say, it just says 2 capital structures. What is it, 40% or 60% or?
Yeah, so this was long-term debt and then normal shares. So debt and shares, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously you've got a structure here which has a certain amount of debt and a certain amount of shares.
Okay, but there's no in the translated version of it, there's nothing in there about that.
Let's see here. Calculate the EBT value of the 110, 100 and 220. Okay, so then that would be debt and equity.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so if we look at what they've given you, if we're looking at creating the actual structure, do you agree we've got EBIT of 110,000, and then we're going to be charging interest on that. The interest will be calculated using that information.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so then we'll be able to get the net profit after tax. So yeah, you wouldn't actually need the split here because you could work out the interest rate from the question. So you don't actually need a 40% or 60% or 50% split.
Okay. So what? Okay, so well, this is quite difficult.
Yeah, so they gave you the EBIT, which was what? 110 and 220. Do you agree?
Yeah.
And that was for 2 different scenarios. Then you've got structure A, which is this, and structure B, which is that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so they've given you the structure. They haven't given you the percentage.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does EBIT have to take off? Interest, right?
Yeah.
Can I work out interest from the question?
Yeah, interest and tax.
12% of that and 14% of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, then you get EBT. Can you now take off the tax?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
And can we get
29.
net profit after tax? Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Right, so that's the first bit. See, you've got structure A and B, and then you've got structure A and B.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so A and B each had an EBIT. That was the one, that was the other. That was
Okay,
the
well, can I
one,
work that
that was the
out?
other.
Can I just work them out quickly?
Sorry?
Can I work them out quickly?
Yeah, of course. I'm just showing you what the table would look like.
Yeah. Okay, I'm actually I was looking at the, okay. So let me just calculate it quickly. EBIT. So it's 11 and 220, hey?
Yes. 110 and 220.
And then the interest on the first one is 12%.
Well, the interest would be calculated based on the information in the question. So 105,000 at 12%,
That's 12%.
and then 205,000 at 14%.
Okay. So that would be 600. Okay, so we've got 97,400. That's 29% tax rate, yeah?
Yes.
So that's 28,246. Okay, so I get to 69,154.
Yeah, that would have been the first net profit after
one.
tax for
Yeah,
the
the second one.
EBIT at a level of 110,000 for the current structure A.
Yeah. So it equals. $100. 29% equals 55,477. Okay, so 135,823.
5823. What do you mean 5823?
135,823 is the profit for the structure 2.
Profit for structure 2, for this one,
Yeah.
no, 147. 245. 254.
Oh, do you have to work out the option 1 and option 2 for both?
Yes, you do, because remember, what they're saying in the question is...
Oh, no, I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, what they're saying in the question is that we have two different structures and we have two different possibilities. Okay, if we go with structure A, we're going to have EBIT of those two options, and if we go with structure B, we'll have EBIT of those two options.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult when it's not in English, because it's not really, and you're not really the guy translated it, but you're not really getting exactly what they're asking.
Yeah. I think Tammy actually translated this, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Is that alright?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. I'm happy with that.
Alright,
okay,
so now how do I get earnings per share?
It would be 2 marks for each.
And how do I get earnings per share?
So now you take the profit and you divide it by the number of shares.
Yes, okay, and that was just given in the question. And
Yeah.
that's what they asked you to work out. Yeah, the EPS. Okay, so EPS would then be those amounts divided by
Yeah, I'm
the
working them out.
5,300 or the 2,800.
Yeah, I'm working them out.
Perfect.
Okay, 6, 9, 4. Structure B is definitely better.
Correct, and we would expect that. Why? Because there's more debt.
Yeah.
Okay, so always when there's more debt that's been introduced into the business, you would expect the earnings to increase.
Yeah.
All right, so you're right. Structure B would be the better option, but I don't think they asked you to evaluate.
saying.
But you would be right if they did ask you to do that.
Cool.
Okay. All right, then. This was the first time I ever saw an exam ask about graphs. If you look at number 2.2, they wanted you to sketch the graphs for the EBIT and the EPS.
Coordinates. So those are the coordinates.
Correct, yeah. So the coordinates would have been these things that we saw up here. Let me just put it up. Okay, so EBIT, that would have been what I would be looking at in terms of the one coordinate, and then this would be the other coordinate, if that makes sense.
Which would be the one coordinate?
The EPS would be the one, and the EBIT would be the other.
Okay.
Okay, because the question, if we look at the translated version here, was draw the two capital structures on an EBIT EPS graph. So EBIT would be the one axis, and EPS would be the other axis.
Cool.
Okay, so that was the first time I've ever seen them ask for a graph, which is quite unusual, quite strange. So what I did was I drew it here at the bottom. There's the graph.
Yeah.
Okay, so what did I do? Well, I looked at the capital structure in terms of raising finance. Okay, so how much finance are we going to need in order to generate the EBIT and EPS? So that's what we're looking at. Okay, so if you look at my graph, the x-axis is the amount.
I've done exactly the same. Yeah, I've done exactly the same thing.
Okay, perfect.
I'm not too worried about this, to be honest.
Okay, good. Yeah, and then obviously the left would have been the EPS or the EBIT.
Yeah, so it starts, and then you just need, so 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So you start off, the first one starts off at about 13 at 110.
Yes.
It goes up to...
That's the blue line. That's the capital.
Goes up to about, and it goes up to... Can you just give me what the amount is? Because it's on another... Actually,
the amount.
That's
which one?
27. For the first one, 27 at 220. Okay, there we go. And then the second one starts at 20, just above 20, and that's on 110. And that goes up to 48. So it goes up to there at about... Cool. Okay. Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
That was the first time I ever saw a question like this, which was a bit strange, a bit different, but it was quite interesting to see them test something like this in the finance question paper. Okay, and then the last bit was just to show. They said, show over which EBIT range, if any, the two structures will be chosen. So what would we choose? Well, do you agree the one with more debt would have been better, right? Which is what you said.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's what you would conclude. Okay, I think that was like 2 marks or something. Let's check.
6 marks, no?
3 marks.
3 marks, yeah.
Yeah, so you just had to discuss this, maximizing shareholder wealth. How do we do that? We introduce debt. If I introduce debt, I raise the earnings per share, and I raise the EBIT.
Both.
Levels of EBIT would change.
Raise EPS and raise EBIT.
Yeah, so we would want more EBIT, we would want more EPS, and we would want more debt. If we have all three things, that would generally increase the wealth for our shareholders.
Okay, cool. 100%, I got that.
Okay, yeah, and then the reasoning I just added here was just because interest is tax deductible. That's why you want more debt. Okay, and also more debt adds more leverage. Okay, remember with financial leverage, you look at EBIT and EPS. So if I'm looking at both, you'll actually maximize the shareholder wealth if you introduce more financial leverage. Financial leverage is looking at introducing more debt, which gives rise to more interest.
Yeah.
Happy?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, that was 2.
Cool.
All right, then we had another question, which was this one. This was short, and then they asked you some questions after that. So let me just put up this bit. Okay, so question 3 gave you a company with an optimal capital structure, 30% debt, 70% equity. Yeah. Interest rate on the debt was 10%, that was constant. Cost of the ordinary shares was 14%. The tax rate was 29%.
Yeah.
Okay, then you had the following investment opportunities. Right, so they gave you this, project A, B, C, D. They gave the cost, which is the initial investment, and they gave the IRR, which was that. Okay, and then just at the bottom here, they just said that the company had 111,000.
Okay, so this is just basically another WACC example.
Kind of, because if we look at the first question, they said which project would you choose. So how would you choose a project? You would have to look at the cost and you have to compare it to the IRR. Do you agree?
Yeah. Yeah.
Good. Okay, so what would you want to calculate? You said WACC, so start with that then.
Yeah, you would calculate the WACC.
Good. So what is the WACC then?
Yeah, this is really difficult to work like with this thing here, to be honest.
Okay, I'm just going to put up this. Let me just put up there. So, okay, so you can see that up there. The project costs. And then you can see the information there. So I'm going to highlight the stuff that's important. 30% debt, 70% equity. 10% cost of debt. 14% cost of equity.
Yeah.
And 29% tax. That's all you really need. Oh, and the retained earnings.
It's just, okay, so I mean, it's just a normal. I mean, you don't have to do the actual work that actual structure where it's the different debt structures. I mean, it's just
you don't have different debt structures. You have one debt structure.
Yeah. So, but I'm saying we don't have to do the breakpoints and calculate and then do that actual table.
Well, if they asked for the table, then you would have to do it. You could, but you wouldn't have to. Yeah. I mean, you could work out breakpoints if you wanted to, but only for the net income. Yeah,
but I mean, it's that's what I'm saying. For this one, you just do the normal the normal formula. So WACC equals debt times by the cost of debt minus the tax rate plus the ordinary shares times by the cost. Or I mean the weight of the ordinary.
Yes. So what WACC do you get?
I'm going to do it now. Just hold on.
That's correct.
Weighting debt times by the cost minus tax plus the other times by the cost. Okay, so that equals the weighting for debt is 30% times by the cost, which is 14%, is 10%, minus the tax rate of 29, so 1 minus 29. That's times by plus 70% times by the cost of 4. That's 14, hey? Yeah, 14%. equals. So 7.1, 40%. So 1.8%. 80%. Three percent. So 11.93.
100%, good. All right, so now if you've got the 11.93, which projects will you accept?
Basically everyone except for the first one. No, everyone except for the first two.
Yes, C and D.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so if you draw this up in terms of the working,
Yeah.
all right, I would accept C and D because the IRR is bigger than the cost of capital.
Yeah.
All right, so now you know which two projects you're going to be choosing, right? So let's tick those two.
Okay.
Okay, then the next bit was looking at the residual theory of dividends. Okay, so let me put up the question here.
So that was for 6 marks, that first one, eh?
Yes. Yeah, just check the mark allocation. I think it was for 6.
That was 6, yeah.
Okay. 3.2 said, how much will the company pay out in dividends in accordance with all profitable projects? So that means choosing C and D.
Okay, that's quite easy.
So work it out. Let's see what you get.
I just want to see what can you just put the project stuff up so I can just check it. Okay, so we've got 110,000 rand. Okay, so what we first need to do, and second thing is we need to take the project, so 30,000, the 30,000.
Are you going to accept project A?
Oh, no, sorry, 42,000. And we need to times that by 70%. And then we'll take 50,000. We'll times that by 70%.
Good. On the right track.
70%. It gives us 29,400. And then 50,000 times by 70% equals 45,000 plus 29,400 equals 400. So if we've got a residual debt, so we had 110,000 rand in earnings.
111,000.
111 is 111.
Yes.
Okay, 111,000. Cool. Minus 64,400. Gives us 46,600.
Good. And what is that going to be? Your dividends.
Yeah, that would be your dividends.
Good. Full marks there.
Cool. Yeah, if they ask me any of this stuff, I'm pretty happy with it.
Okay, good. All right, then the third question was just to calculate the company's payout ratio.
Payout, that's easy as well. So,
okay, what is it?
You take the 46,000.
Yes.
46,600, and you divide it by the 111,000.
Yes.
And that will give you your payout ratio. So that divided by 111 equals, and that gives you about 41.42% if you round it up.
Exactly. There you go.
Cool. Is that one?
Yeah, that was that one.
So if you get 3 marks, you get 3 marks for that last calculation.
Yeah,
they
that's
make you do
good.
for the other one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool.